From the Foundation Studio on Biloxi's Back Bay, welcome to Super Talk Outdoors, where, as you know, we celebrate every single Monday at lunchtime the world-class outdoors of the state of Mississippi, because we are the capital of the outdoors in America. I hope you're having a great Monday, and I want to thank you for joining us on the powerful Super Talk Mississippi Radio Network, on Super Talk TV at C Spire TV. But if you're listening on Facebook or YouTube or your favorite podcast, it is June the 13th, 2022. It's been a hot weekend here on Coast Mississippi. I think that's probably the story all across Mississippi. Steamy. We've got this dome of high pressure sitting on top of us, and it's hot. I walked outside this morning to do a little work around the pool, and man, it was truly steaming, really steaming. Hey, we had the Mississippi Gulf Coast Billfish Classic here on the coast over the weekend. It was another very successful tournament. Wasn't the best conditions for fishing offshore, but the boats, more than 70 of them, they made the best of it. It was a lot of big thunderstorms that kind of sat out there for an extended period of time. The seas were pretty rough. Guys, I had to actually come into the mouth of the Mississippi River Friday night to find some safe harbor. But that's what you do for tournaments like that, especially this time of year when you've got those thunderstorms that tend to hang around. The boat, It Just Takes Time, won the tournament this year. And what's notable about them winning is they've won it 3 years in a row. And let me tell you, for one fish, they made $631,000. This is a very serious tournament. Their blue marlin was 761 pounds. That's incredible. Bobby Carter and his son Robbie Carter put on an amazing tournament, and I want to congratulate them for another very successful year. Hey, one last thing. We put out crab traps out in Biloxi Bay over the weekend. Salinity's finally back to where it is, kind of the normal salinity for this time of year. And as you've heard me talk about, last year we had so much rain, and it just messed up the salinity. It was a weird season all around last year because of the rain, but things are sort of back to normal now. You see bait fish all over. And when we take the grandkids, my son Jordan and I took the grandkids, and it was so much fun. It's always memorable. We put the traps out, went and did a little bit of fishing afterwards. Mila caught a croaker, and as normal, it was doing its croaking. You know how croakers do that. And my granddaughter Riley, who's my daughter's daughter, she says, "It pooted." And I had the video running at the time, so it was perfect. I mean, it was like one of those priceless moments. We posted that video at the Super Talk Outdoors Facebook page, and it's just so cute. I mean, it gets your attention. It's been viewed over 2,000 times already. So, you got to go take a look at it at Facebook. And while you're there, like our page. If you miss the show on the radio, you can always go there or to YouTube or your favorite podcast and get the show. Speaking of bringing kids in the outdoors, we have a great show today. Today, we're going to be talking all about bringing your family outdoors. In the second half of the show, we're going to have Nicole Smith, who is a museum event and planner and a conservation educator who, by the way, recently was recognized as the hometown hero by Visit Jackson, Mississippi. And she's at the Museum of Natural Science. So I'm looking forward to visiting with her in the second half of the show. And now I want to welcome my new friend, Erin Austin Abbott. She's a writer. She's a photographer from Mississippi. And she has a great book called Family Field Trip, which is fitting, really, as people sort of try to figure out how are they going to, trim back their budget, but still be able to do something fun with the kids and the family. It's a perfect book for this moment in time. How you doing, Erin? It's good to see you.
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I think it's great that you're so dedicated to what you do. I actually spent a little bit of time at your Instagram site this morning, and you've got a beautiful way with words. You remind me a little bit of myself, because I have a tendency, especially as I get older, to want to live more in the moment, to recognize the small things in life. And you have an eye for that. Good photographers. I've been around Pulitzer Prize winning photographers and writers, for that matter, in my prior world as a publisher. So, I have an eye for a good photographer, for a good writer. And, you have that ability to kind of freeze the moment and really kind of take it all in, don't you? You have a sense of that, don't you?
I look for it every single day.
I know you do. I know. Where did that love of photography come from?
My mom growing up always had a camera over her shoulder, around her neck, and I think that that really, really resonated with me. It was something, she was always capturing the moment of whatever we were doing. And same with my grandparents, always having, albums and albums of their travels and family time, and, just would sit there and just look through their albums. And I think that the camera has always been with me. And now having it on most of my pictures are taken still with the camera, not just my phone, but I always have my phone with me, so I'm always, I always have that ability to capture that moment, whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's amazing. Again, as a former publisher, I said recently in a conversation I was having with someone on my show on the coast called Coast View that if you think going back and look at my time as a publisher, certainly we spent a lot of money on printing presses and those kinds of things. But if you just look at from a year to year basis, the most amount of money we ever spent in terms of just cash, not capital expenditure, but just an expense that we had to deal with, is on photography equipment. What's
Mhm.
going on with lenses and camera bodies have changed obviously in digital world, but what's really changed is the lenses and how advanced they have become. But almost simultaneously though, you've seen this incredible advancement in what the iPhone's been able to do.
Mhm.
Listen, again, I have an eye for it, and what iPhones can capture today, and your ability to edit and all of that, it's incredible, really. What you're able to do. So between the two of those, if you got good technology and your camera equipment, and then your iPhone, you're pretty much equipped, aren't you?
Absolutely. I have Lightroom on my phone so I can edit on the go anytime, and then my camera has the ability to take pictures and then send them to my phone, so that I can, if I'm out and away from my computer, I can, it's just amazing what technology has where we can go anywhere with it.
Now, there's so many photos that you took that I saw on Instagram, but one that kind of sticks out is one of the more recent posts you did, where you had a playground that had been just kind of overwhelmed by nature.
Mhm.
I spent a lot of time. I have at least three separate farms up in the Mississippi Delta, and I'm always amazed actually, if you leave a trail or an open space unattended to for any length of time, man, nature consumes it rapidly. It's amazing how nature takes over. But that was, I think you might have even referred to it as a haunting photograph, but it was an interesting photograph. So again, you've got an eye for it, and that one particularly caught your attention, didn't it?
Yeah, that was really interesting because I've lived in where I live now for almost 18 years. And at the time, that the backyard, it's two houses down from me, and that backyard was just completely covered in privet and, just everything else, just wild. And when they got ready to sell that home, they started cutting it back, and all of a sudden there was this playground that I'd never seen before, and no one had seen it, and except for, many, many years before that. I don't even know if the residents that were there knew that it was there, because it was very old equipment, maybe from the 60s or 50s maybe. Um, and Yeah, so when it was kind of unearthed, it was really magical, and it's now gone, and the backyard is loved in many different ways. But yeah, it was really an interesting find. I love finding bits of nature like that.
So Water Valley. As I mentioned, I have friends who just love that place. Paul and Wanda Howe from here on the coast. They're from up in somewhere in that area, but they love Water Valley. And I've only passed through there one time, but I remember first of all it being a beautiful small town, and it's almost like going back in time when you're there. But it's a special place, isn't it?
It is. I am from Oxford originally, and we moved to Florida when I was 9. And after college, I moved all over the country, just kind of bouncing around looking for that place that made me feel like Oxford in the 80s when I was a kid. And nothing really, I couldn't really find that place. And then it was like I could move back to that area. And so I did. And when I was looking around, I was like, Oxford is still wonderful. I love Oxford, but it's grown so much. It wasn't like it was when I was a child. But Water Valley really reminded me of Oxford in the 80s. And I've been here now for almost 18 years, like I mentioned. And it still has that feeling of Oxford in the 80s.
Yeah,
I just love it. It's still a really small town, 3,600 people, and we're situated in between Enid Lake, Sardis Lake, and Grenada Lake. And so so many wonderful ways to, get outside and still have the town life.
We're talking with Erin Austin Abbott. She's a Mississippi writer and photographer. She wrote a terrific book called Family Field Trip, and the timing of it, just in the wake of the pandemic and with people needing to trim back because of the cost of gas and all, it's one of those efforts that
Leading the conversation on Mississippi's outdoors. It's Super Talk Outdoors with Ricky Matthews on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. We have Erin Abbott. She's a Mississippi writer and photographer, and she wrote a terrific book called Family Field Trip. And we're going to come to that in just a second. But it's always interesting during the breaks. I enjoy visiting with my guests, and I just had the opportunity to visit with Erin a little bit more and learn that nature photographer Stephen Kirkpatrick, who is one of the finest photographers I've ever come in contact with. I was mentioning the book Whistling Wings. I just run across it in my bookshelf recently. But he's your father-in-law. So it's a small world, isn't it, Erin?
It's a very small world. Mississippi just makes the world, we're just degrees apart.
Well, I'm going to have him on my show. You're talking about eye for photography. Over the years, what he's done to get that perfect photograph is just incredible. But I'll get Stephen on the show for sure. Hey, look, one of the things that I have really come to understand, and I had the opportunity on a weekly basis to have someone from the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks, at least most weeks. And first of all, inside that department are so many incredibly dedicated employees. I mean, they've literally dedicated their lives to conservation and to bringing the outdoors to our families, and also making sure that we have an outdoors to enjoy for generations to come. But the thing that kept coming back up with all of them is that during the pandemic, people felt safe outside. So you saw a lot of people going out into nature. In my conversations with wide range of people, Steve Azar, for example, the singer-songwriter and the music and cultural ambassador for the state, who incidentally has the song One Mississippi, which is the theme song for Mississippi Outdoors, Super Talk Outdoors, is he and I have talked about how people, for example, the Blues Trail, people have gone out and enjoyed the Blues Trail more this time of year, and so on. But you have seen that, haven't you? That there's just during the pandemic, people will sort of either reintroduced to the outdoors or introduced to the outdoors in ways they didn't appreciate before. Is that what you have found?
Absolutely. And for us, for my husband and son and I, we have trails that we love to go to on a regular basis and visit, year round. But during the pandemic and during the lockdown, we used it as a time to discover so many new trails that we had never been to before around the state. And, we didn't go far, obviously, but we, just had day trips and would get out, and that was like an entirely new adventure for us, and just finding new places. We loved it.
Yeah, what I have said, I say it all the time on my Coast View show, but certainly have said it before here. I'm not kidding when I say we're the capital of the outdoors in America. When you think about what we have access to, from the Mississippi Delta to the hills to what's happening in central Mississippi to the coast, and I mean, when you add it all up, I mean, the diversity that we have access to is truly remarkable. I mean, some of the best parks in the United States. I mean, certainly it doesn't rival something like Yellowstone, but the reality is it is a special place. So there's a lot to see here. I mean, if you just go to the Delta, the opportunity, especially this time of year, as the crops are starting to grow and all that, there's a lot to be seen. It's a special place. So people who are really under a pinch, who are realizing the cost of maybe travel that they would normally do is going to be a little bit out of their budget. The opportunities to stay in Mississippi and just kind of take it all in are pretty significant, aren't they?
They are. And you mentioned Yellowstone, and it's funny because when you look at a picture of Yellowstone, it's beautiful, but what you're not seeing is the hundreds of people that are right there with you, you know? And here, I think there are so many different opportunities, like you said, to get outside, and you might not see anyone else. And I think you can really just immerse yourself in nature and just be, just find that calm that nature provides.
So if you were in an elevator with someone and they said, you wrote the book Family Field Trip, what is that all about? And you got basically a floor to tell them about it. What do you say to them?
I would say that Family Field Trip it's a way for you, it's a tool, a resource for you to provide educational experiences for your child anywhere you go. So that might be through art, that might be through design, through culture, music, and definitely through art, through nature, because I feel that nature is just as vital as those. It all encompasses what a family field trip can be. So that's learning about the world around us from home and beyond. When you're home, you can get out in your backyard and have a field trip. When you are out traveling, you have the resources through this book to find those educational experiences rather than just, being a tourist. You're a traveler in the environment that you're in.
I love the way you said it. Be a traveler, not a tourist.
Mm-hmm.
I like, and there's some important nuance there. When I posted the video of my granddaughter Riley saying that the croaker pooted, it's a cute little video. But a couple of people commented there, incidentally, that one guy laments that he took his. Again, I'm not going to remember the facts, but the bottom line is this: that took a son or a grandson or a child fishing, and they wouldn't get off their iPhone. And then another one kind of weighed in and said essentially the same thing. And I guess your advice would be wean them off the iPhone and show them an appreciation for the outdoors, such that they want to ultimately put their iPhone down, so that nature can be sort of a magnet to them. That's your message, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that there is a time and a place, and you can use your phone as a tool as opposed to a distraction. And, I use Instagram a lot for finding trails that we want to visit around the state. I use it for geotags or hashtags so that I can bookmark those places within Instagram. And I use it in that way. And then once we're out in nature, like, it's modeling that behavior. I don't pull my phone out and look at it. I might use it to take a picture and then put it back in my pocket or whatever. But it is it's modeling that behavior and letting kids see that you're enjoying it, you're engaging with them. If you start engaging with them in nature, they are going to be like all over it. They're going to absolutely want to learn more. They're going to want to discover more. You can make a game out of it, left and right, like with different activities in nature. I mean, it really is an endless opportunity to connect with your child, and they won't even remember that their phone is in their pocket or, what's happening. It's there when they get back.
So I have nephews. Their names are Peter and Nico Bohanovic. That's my wife's maiden name, Bohanovic. Her father's family came from Croatia, and her parents' family, her mother's side of the family, were French. But anyway, they grew up on the games and the video games, and they play on their phones and whatever. But I have hooked them on, they'll go up to the camp with me in the winter up in the Delta. They love going in the boat with me fishing. And again, they spend a lot of time on their phones. But Nico more recently said, man, Uncle Bubba, we got to go back offshore, which we took them offshore and had a really incredible trip. But when we're in the boat or when we're out, in the woods together, they don't have their phones with them, and they don't really want them, to be honest with you. I would say they have really found the nice balance. Outdoor has created the balance for them. And I've often said, I know you feel the same way, that a family that enjoys the outdoors together stays together. There's so much to learn. There's so much enjoyment, so much to learn about, how to protect the environment, how to protect yourself, because it's not, there are things that you have to be safe, safety conscious around for sure. But it is, it's one of the biggest gifts you can give your family, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And, if you're really, really concerned with the phone, just go somewhere where there's no cell service, and they won't have
perfect.
You won't have an opportunity to
yeah. Hey, Aaron, and that's offshore. That's offshore.
Yeah, there you go.
Somebody said, when I was a CEO of a company, said I didn't golf, and they said, well, how do you visit with your customers? Because when you're playing golf, you got 3 or 4 hours just with them and whatever. I said, well, I'll take them in the boat offshore. In that way, when you're offshore, you don't have cell service. You're in the boat together from up to 10 hours in one day. We'll go our normal day. If we do an offshore trip, we'll do over 200 miles in one day and be back to Biloxi at the end of the day. But there's a point where you leave the barrier islands, and it's just you and the boat and outdoors, and whoever's on the boat with you. It's a great experience. Hey, you've got over 50,000 followers on Instagram and Facebook. Congratulations on getting that much attention.
Thank you.
Listen. Hey, here's what I want to do. I want to plan another show with you in a couple of weeks. And I want to get into some specifics that are inside your book about activities that families can do. I know you in the book it's like over 75 activities. But her book is Family Field Trip. I mean, it's packed with all kinds of stuff. Look it up. Find that book and buy it. It'd be a gift to your family.
You can find it everywhere.
Say it again?
You can find it everywhere.
Good. I look forward to seeing it myself, and we'll connect our audience to some of the incredible lessons that can be learned from this. But anyway, Aaron Abbott, it's been a pleasure to meet you and spend some time with you this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's been an honor. Hey, when we come back, we're going to continue the excellent conversation on Focus on Family and Outdoors with Nicole Smith. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. I really enjoyed that conversation with Erin Abbott. I'm going to get her back on actually in the next 3 or 4 weeks. I want to get her back before, while the summer's still kind of rolling, so that families can take advantage of some of what she has to teach from her book. What a terrific conversation that is. It's great to have, again, Mississippians that are popular really across the United States, who are really being ambassadors for us. And she's doing such a great job at that. So now let's shift gears and move over to my new friend, Nicole Smith. She's a museum event planner, conservation educator, and she's at the Museum of Natural Science, and we'll tell you more about where that is, et cetera. But she was recently recognized as a hometown hero by Visit Jackson, Mississippi. I want to say congratulations, by the way, Nicole, but welcome to Super Talk Outdoors, Nicole.
Wow, you did your research, man. I didn't even share that info with you. That's awesome.
Well, I tell you, man, I had this opportunity every week to not only tell the stories of people who love the outdoors and have dedicated so much of their energy in the outdoors, but also people like you who are educators who are really focused on making sure that families have the opportunity to take it all in and make it part of their lives so that they can, stay together. As I said so many times, and I said a few minutes ago, a family that enjoys the outdoors together stays together. Yeah. I really believe that. But I was real privileged that you had the opportunity to meet Erin in between the segments. But she's a pretty motivated young person, isn't she?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to have to team up with her and bring nature to family. So I think that'll be fun.
You knew her book, didn't you?
I do. I've actually used some of her ideas in a little workshop that we do called Family Nature Detectives. We offer it seasonally, and it's meant for parents to bring their children. It's a more intimate workshop, and it's in nature, and it's helping parents connect to their children and both of them to connect to nature. So it's just she's had some inspirational things. So she's been one of the wonderful people whose inspiration I have enjoyed and used. So it's great to actually
That's
see
cool.
her.
And I know, Erin Abbott is who the guest was, and her book is Family Field Trip. And she was so delighted that you had not only seen her book, but were using segments of the book to make your educational endeavors more successful. And that's cool. That's a cool connection. You can tell she was really delighted by that. Anyway, you have really dedicated your life to this cause. Where did that love of conservation and the outdoors come from?
I grew up at the foothills of the Appalachians as a child, and I had an 80-acre farm. And so I roamed the base of Rattlesnake Mountain was where I grew up, and spent time with my brothers and my father. And we went fishing and hiking and fossil collecting and rock collecting and climbing trees and all of it. And it's been part of my DNA since I, hit the planet. So it's a
I
wonderful
tell you what, I
thing.
love that part of the country. I mean, I take my family there annually, and we would do the Blue Ridge Parkway, and
Oh, it's
we would
gorgeous.
always, when we got to northern Alabama, we would always take back roads and kind of work our way around.
Mhm.
Sometime we'd go on the Tennessee side, sometime we'd go on the North Carolina side. But man, what a beautiful part of the world that is, and what a great place to learn about the outdoors.
Yeah, and the birding there is out of this world. Just whew, the migratory flyway there, you're going to see a lot of great neotropical migrants. And I grew up with all that. It's just such a blessing.
Hey, so I was about 100 miles offshore, and a really small bird lands on the boat, and it's got kind of a green flavor to it. And I remembered that bird from many, many, many years ago. A similar bird landed on our boat, and I did some research on the bird, and it came from South America. So here's this little bird flying across the Gulf of Mexico, landing on our boat out in the middle of nowhere. And I told my son, I said, that bird is migrating. That bird is from South America. There's no way that little bird flew across the Gulf of Mexico. I said, yeah, it actually did. It's amazing. The other day, I actually came across a graphic. It was a digital display of migratory birds that pass through Mississippi.
Yeah.
I tell you, Nicole, I was amazed. I did not realize that many species traveled through Mississippi, and the majority of which came from South America. But it's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, something this big making that journey. It's definitely impressive. If you ever are facing a challenge in your life, just keep it in perspective. Like, if they can do this, you can do anything.
Hey, you strike me, Nicole. It's interesting. Again, I mentioned the Hometown Hero Award, but you strike me as someone who's not looking for recognition. You're just kind of in the trenches doing your work. You're passionate about what you do. You're dedicated to what you do. It's good to get the recognition, but what I've often said about the leadership awards that I started when I was at the Sun Herald, that are now called the One Coast Awards here in coastal Mississippi, that it's great to hold you up as an example and give you the recognition. But what's even more important, really, is the example you are for others. And you inspire others with what you're doing. It's great to make that kind of contribution, isn't it?
It's a calling. I definitely am not in it for the money. I'm in it because I love it. I have these moments where I see an impact being made in a child's life or in an adult's life too, and it's a wonderful thing to be able to be a part of that, and to just hopefully by our choices every day, we make the world a better place. And that's a large part of what our facility is and its mission is to bring nature to people in a meaningful way, learn about conservation, what our individual roles are in that, and as our societal roles. So it means a lot.
So the Museum of Natural Science for Mississippi is up at Lafleur Bluff Park, one of many great state parks across the state of Mississippi. But there's a lot going on there, isn't there?
Oh, my Lord. Buckle up. We have got so much going on. So it's a beautiful park to begin with. and it's a great location for migratory birds. The plant life is diverse and interesting. You know, it's a green space right here in Jackson. So if you need to go on a hike, we got you covered. But on top of that, we have this brand new, fantastic playground that everybody's talking about for good reason. It's definitely unique. And it's got play spaces for pretty much most age group, even a very early childhood play space, which is quite unique to it. So a lot of people have been visiting because of the new playground. The museum itself is a local jewel. We have everything from, oh gosh, the museum's been around since the 1930s, but in this location for about 22 years. And when you're here, you're definitely very Mississippi. So when you walk through this museum, you're walking through the whole state and through all of the seasons. And so it's just such a jewel. And every 6 months, we have a brand new traveling exhibit. And we just opened one up a couple of weeks ago called Space, A Journey to the Future. And it's built by NASA with evergreen exhibits, and it's dreamy. I mean, it seems a little cliche to say that a space exhibit is big, but it is. It's mind-bogglingly huge. You can get on a space exercise bike and exercise like an astronaut. You can plan your own mission to Mars, and they kind of put you in the command module, and you have to, you know, hit the buttons and hit what you're going to be packing for the trip so that you can make it and survive this mission. You've got, oh goodness, they have a family module, you know, for like the International Space Station. So as you walk into it, like what it would be like to be a crew member to live in the space station. It's got there's actual moon rock. There's a real moon rock there. There's meteorites. You can touch the meteorites. You're touching something from outer space. So, I mean, what's not to love? That's just too exciting.
I think that is so cool. That really is. You know, by the way, I'm operating this show from what we call the Foundation Studio. The Foundation, which is the foundation for wildlife fisheries and parks. And as you know, they played a huge role in making that playground happen there at LaFleur's Park. But it is a special place, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's wonderful. It's absolutely fabulous. And if you've not been, you're missing out, because I really think in some respects we're a hidden jewel. Like we've been here a really long time, but I think sometimes people drive past and they see the entrance to the park and they see the playground and they see our neighbor, the Children's Museum. But if you go just a little further, there's the Science Museum, always there for you.
Look, my son lives in the West Village of New York City. And I worked for Advanced Condé Nast the latter part of my career, so I was in New York almost monthly for a long period of time. Kind of came to I wouldn't want to live in the city, but I came to love the city. And one of my favorite things I walk and run and have for many years, like 40 years, is to do a run around Central Park. The particular path I took was about a little over 7 miles, up and down and all around. But I always thought about, you know, this incredible park, the visionaries that created this right here in the middle of the city. I feel the same way about LaFleur's Park, and I'm going to explain to you what I think about that in just a second when we come back with Nicole Smith and continue our conversation about her incredible dedication to conservation and nature. We'll see you after this break. Mississippi to this land called home. I'll breathe Mississippi till I'm dead and gone. Just carry on. I'll carry on. It's kudzu walls and fall football. Welcome back to Super Talk Outdoors. I have my friend Nicole Smith. She's actually a museum event planner, a conservation educator. Recently was recognized as a hometown hero in Jackson by Visit Jackson, Mississippi. When I went to break, I was talking about this incredible place, LaFleur Bluff State Park. When people pass it on the interstate, you're right. I mean, you look over to the right, you can see the new playground and you can see the entrance. But unless you've been there, you don't really appreciate what is there. I always marvel at our forefathers. Someone had this incredible vision to create this green space so close to downtown Jackson. But man, now that growth has taken place the way that it has, it's hard to actually believe that this special place exists in that location, isn't it?
Oh, I believe it. I don't think it's that hard at all. There was a little vision and a lot of love for a beautiful space, and then good things happened. And also with the way of the contour of the space, it makes sense that it's a good construction place because it's higher ground. And with Jackson and some of its water concerns, that's a good thing. It's a good place for construction.
Well, Nicole, one of the as we talked about with Aaron a few minutes ago, parents are challenged because the normal family trips that they would take are too expensive because of the price of gas and whatever. You guys have a ton of activities going on right now. Give if you're listening to the show and you got kids or grandkids or know someone who's trying to figure out what they want to do, listen carefully to what Nicole is going to share with us now, because there's some great events happening right here in Jackson that you might want to take advantage of. And by the way, you can also take in the park while you're there. So Nicole, give us an idea of what's coming up.
So I am an event planner who does educational events. So I'm not just making something that's cool to go to. I'm making something that when you come to it, it has a bigger picture in mind. And a lot of them are thematic bigger pictures. So right now with the space exhibit, a lot of our events are space themed. So every Friday in June and July, we have these little things called Fun Fridays, and they're mini events from 10 till noon. So if your little one is a little bit, got a little cabin fever and you need to get outside, come to the museum, because we'll have different hands-on demonstrations, experiments, crafts, games. There are different things built along the theme. So like this, all right, so where are we? It's the 13th of June. The next one is June 17th, space travel. And this one is about the science of space travel. And you can build your own little space lander and then launch mini rockets. I mean, that's going to be great. That's going to be fun. The following Fun Friday on the 24th is about the constellations. So you can learn about the stars and how to explore them. You'll even be making your own little mini projector thing for constellations, which is going to be really cool. And then the one I'm super excited about, mainly because I'm in charge of this one, is the comets, meteors, and dinosaurs. Oh my! And that one's going to be July 1st. And there may or may not be a dinosaur coming out to say hello to the kids. I'm just saying it might happen. We do have a resident dinosaur.
Cool.
But don't tell the kids. But it's gonna be really cute. And I've got a geologist coming, and he's going to be showcasing some of the tektites and coesites that actually have come from space that you can see up close and personal. And one of NASA's solar system ambassadors is going to be at that one. So we try to make them special. Jackson Astronomy Club has been coming to these. So though they're meant for ages 4 and up, I try to make sure that there's something for adults too. So the kids are having a good time. Grown-ups, you need your brain engaged too. Like there's only so many times you can be like, yes, we have watched all the Arthurs. We have watched all of the cartoons. Now it's time to go do something that's for both of us. So that's good. And save the date, July 15th. This is an annual event. It's World Snake Day. And that's a big one. That's from 10 till 2. So learn about the reptiles you're going to find outside and how to act with them and around them, and how to show them respect and keep everybody happy. You happy, the snake happy, your neighbor's happy. That's all important.
Hey, my friend Mark Creech, who spends a lot of time with me up in the Delta, he'll collect snakes for you guys. So if we see a snake, I don't care what kind it is, he's going to grab it, and sometimes with his handler, of course. But he knows how to identify them. He knows how to handle them, even the most dangerous of them. And he'll call the Science Museum and say he's headed there on the way back to the coast. And I've been with him once to deliver a snake.
Okay, cool.
And it's pretty cool. You guys got this great network of people that are working for you. Hey, we're out of time, Nicole, but look, it has been a pleasure to spend some time with you. I can't tell you how important it is to get the kids in the outdoors, and that's what the theme of today's show was all about. We're going to spend a little bit more time talking about this sort of angle of the outdoors, the notion of bringing kids and family in the outdoors, teaching them And by the way, the more we learn, the more we better learn how much we don't know. So the opportunities for parents to actually learn during some of these events at the Science Museum are really incredible. But it's been a pleasure,
Well,
Nicole.
thank you, Ricky. And remember, follow the museum on Facebook, Mississippi Museum of Natural Science, and also mdwfp.com. And you can see all the museum's offerings there as well. So follow us and see what we're up to.
Thank you. Have a great day. We'll see you next Monday. And stay safe in the outdoors, my prevailing message. We'll see you later.